Hey guys, very, very welcome back to the show today. And I have an independent wrestler here from Kilkenny, actually near where I live in Ireland. Like Luke, a lot of these shows kind of go out and we have people from the US, but I try to get some Irish people on when I can. And you're definitely the closest wrestler to home now. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chainsaw Luke Frehill. He's from Kilkenny. Pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Thanks very much, man. Pleasure to be on.
Pleasure to be on as your local county councillor. Interviewing you in a wrestling podcast is probably something that maybe none of us ever predicted, but here we go.
It wasn't on my bucket list, but sure, we'll give it a go.
We'll give it a go. Luke, just want to get a bit of a background on yourself, obviously where you're from and what you study, etc., and how you kind of got into this mad world.
Yeah, so I'm from Kilkenny. I'm originally from Galway, actually, but I moved to Kilkenny when I was younger, and I just always loved wrestling. Before I can even remember, I've always loved wrestling. Always wanted to be a wrestler. I thought it was crazy. When I was younger, I used to say it, and I never stopped saying it. So when I got to, after I did my leaving cert, said I may start training. So I'd go up to the School of Irish Wrestling, run by Joe Cabray. I'd get the bus until I could learn to drive, and I've been doing it since I started on September 25th, 2021. So nearly 3 years. Jeez, yeah. So, and then I started having matches about a year and a bit ago now. So, yeah, that's me.
So you decided to kind of skip. You decided to skip the college thing and just go straight into the wrestling, then, did you?
Yeah, it's always my passion. Yeah, I study a little bit, but my main focus is the wrestling. Studying just kind of keeps me entertained. Something to do during the day.
Yeah, exactly. For people that don't know that are watching this, like the training process that goes into something involved in becoming a wrestler is people that from outside the business have no clue about. So could you kind of summarize what that's like?
Yeah, so it's not easy. It's tough. We train. I think my school runs 4 or 5 days a week, so I try to make it down as much as I can. You need to be down every week, at least 2 or 3 minimum, if you really want to make a go of it. It's tough. It's taking bumps every day, cardio drills all day. Sessions are 2 hours long, and every minute of them 2 hours you're working. And you pick up a lot of injuries doing it as well. I actually dislocated my knee from training about 2 years ago, so it's not easy on the body, but once you get through it, it's worth it.
Yeah. And who's training you at the moment, or who trained you predominantly in this journey so far?
So I train out of the School of Irish Wrestling. We're based in the Clondalkin Rugby Club at the moment. The school is run by Joe Cabray. He's also the promoter of OTT, Over Top Wrestling. And then he's one of the trainers there. And we also have Paddy Morrow. He's a great trainer, one of the most underrated wrestlers ever. And Session Mock Martina. And we also get appearances from Sammy D and LJ Cleary when he's not in Japan. Just all the top talent in Ireland come and help us train.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of credit goes to that school. When you talk about LJ in Japan, you talk about Finn, Sheamus, Becky, Lyra over in WWE. Like it's really hot for wrestling here in Ireland at the moment, isn't it? It's down to that school, really.
Yeah. The talent that school produces is crazy. You look at all the top stars in the Irish scene now; it's all come from this school. Like it's unbelievable how talented they are, and they're traveling across Europe as well. That's where I hope to be. I look at those guys, and that's where I want to be. And I'm starting from where they started. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, when I go to an NLW show or an OTT show and I just see the range of talent that are on the card, and I see guys like yourself that are coming up, but you're looking at guys like Sammy D that you mentioned, like Fabio, like Limo there, Martin Steers, these guys. I'm just wondering, like, when am I going to see them? Because I know down the line I'm going to see some of these guys in the major television show, and it's just a matter of, well, who's next? Like, the talent is that good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to use LJ Cleary for an example, like when I started out, he was one of our main trainers in the school, and he was on fire in Ireland and across Europe, obviously. But now look at him; he's gone to Japan. So a lot of the new guys, they only get to train with him once every couple of months when he comes back. You know, I don't believe how lucky I was to have someone. I'm sure that'll be the same for the next generation below, because the school is just brilliant. Like, the talent is churning out. The level of training is top notch.
Yeah. Can you talk to me about your debut match then, and where it was and what it was like? What were the nerves like?
Yeah. So I had my debut, let me think, September or August last year. I can't quite remember, but it was OTT run up in Comic-Con up in Northern Ireland every year. We have a little setup there.
Yeah.
So it's not recorded, you know, the pressure is not as bad. It gives the chance to do the young lads to get a couple of reps and get a couple of matches, you know. My first match, actually, I tagged with Cian Noonan, who was a guy that I started on the same day as. And I got a bad injury, so he's a little bit ahead of me. So it was cool that I had one of my close friends in that match with me against Noah Walker and Omari. And Omari had a big hand in training me as well. He was always someone I looked up to. Again, he was a guy traveling the European scene, and I think he was OTT champion at that time. So it was a great honor to have him as my first match, you know. And yeah, so it was very nerve-wracking, yeah, but something I thought about obviously every day since I was 3 or 4 years old, you know. But I think once you get out there in front of the crowd, you kind of forget the nerves and you get through it. And what a day it was, like, you know, it was great. And then that was the start of it. And yeah, I think it's been actually a year and a week. I think it was a year last week since I had that match. So yeah.
Two pretty big fellas to go up against in your first match.
Yeah,
Well.
yeah. When you're comparing them to me, yeah, me and Keane ain't the biggest of fellas, so yeah, it was pretty nerve wracking. Yeah, two talented men as well. So
big time. And of course, I seen you at a couple of NLW shows as well with Con, and those shows have great time. Jamie's a great guy; he runs a great show there. I can bring my kids to the show. That's kind of how I got back into attending wrestling, because I was living in Dublin for years, and because I was working in retail, I was always missing the weekend shows. Like, it was very, very rarely I could catch a show. When I moved back to Kilkenny, I started bringing the kids to NLW because that suits on a kind of Sunday afternoon. And now that they're getting a little bit older, I have my time back that I can attend a few OTT shows as well. But those NLW shows are a real hidden gem. Obviously, they're not recorded as well, but they must be a lot of fun to do.
NLWs are great. Jamie's a great man. Obviously, he gave me a chance to be on them shows, and I think it was only so I started in September. I think I was on one in January, you know. So 3 or 4 months in, and he said, "Yeah, I'll give him a shot." You know, I think I was on a good few consistent shows in a row then. So, and as you said, they're not recorded either. So the nerves of like an OTT, which is, you know, going up on demand, isn't there. Not saying you shouldn't put as much effort into. Of course you should. You know, there's still great shows, but it was easier for me at the beginning as well, because I didn't have to worry about the cameras. And I find that the kids shows as well, you know, they'll tell you the truth. You know, kids don't have a filter, so they're not there for maybe the indie wrestling. You know, if you're bad, they're not going to react, but if you're good, they will. So it's really good experience, them NLW shows.
Yeah, I did actually see you, now that I think of it, in a Contender show as well, when LJ Cleary came back a couple of months back for a Contender show. I think you were on a Team Ireland, am I right?
Yeah, I think I was hidden in one of those 10-man tags. Yeah.
Yeah, my God, there was a lot of wrestlers there that day.
There was a lot of wrestlers on them shows.
I think that show was supposed to be 2 hours. I think it was 3.5 hours. I barely got my train home.
Them Contenders are great though, because they usually do a camp before, and he picks, you know, people will come all over from around the world to these camps, and he picks the best to be on the shows, you know. So it's great to see, you know, what Europe has to offer, and the rest of the world. Actually, people come from all around the world to these camps.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a lot of people there from many different countries.
Yeah.
But I suppose the big one for you recently was I seen the promo go up on social media, and I wasn't aware of Scotty Davis's bullying of you in Belfast, but obviously that played into your debut, coming in against a guy of that caliber as well. He's another guy that I forgot to mention earlier, but incredible talent. I often see him. I run Rock Nights in Dublin. I often see him there with Kate as well. They come out to the shows. But what a guy he is! Like, what a match that was, and what a kind of debut for you.
Yeah, yeah, what a talent Sky Davis is. Yeah, when I was told that he was going to be my OTT debut, I felt a certain way. I was honoured, but I was also, that guy he picked on me a lot throughout them years of doing ring crew. I think it was part of his entrance for a while to come over and kick me a boot or hit me a forearm or something. So I was, I was happy to wrestle Scotty Davis, but I was also delighted that I got the chance to fight Scotty Davis, and I think I did pretty good. Obviously, I didn't come out with the win, but he shook my hand at the end of it, so I think I earned his respect.
Yeah, it was a hard hitting match, and just with the chainsaw gimmick. Obviously, a lot of people when they're picking a gimmick will say it have some kind of personal connection with it. What is it with the chainsaw and Luke Frehill?
Well, I find I've quite an intense wrestling style. That's just what kind of suits me. Always since I started training, that's how it's been. So I've seen a couple of interviews with wrestlers of a higher caliber to say, find something that suits you, that matches your style. And one day I said to one of the lads, what would happen if I revved my arm up like a chainsaw? And they said, that's brilliant. And it just comes it's natural to me. Like, it just feels the right fit. They say it's your gimmick should be you turned up, and that's exactly what Chainsaw Luke Frehill is.
Yeah. And in terms of, we'll go back to the School of Irish Wrestling again, and in terms of you building a character, like how influential and how open are they for you to throw around ideas, or what way does that kind of process work in character development?
Yeah, so the way I work in the school is mostly we'll do a lot of drills and stuff, more physical stuff in the school, but we do promo classes, about once a month, I'd say, maybe once every 2 months. And Joe says it's a way to, he says, sorry, pardon me, he looks at them more than he'd look at the regular classes as a way to see what way people could fit on their shows. And he was very good at promos as well, so he gives really good feedback on. So you go up, maybe you get your 30 seconds, you pitch this character. It doesn't even have to be the character you do, you just pitch something, and he'll give you feedback just like he would your in-ring stuff in a regular class. And then maybe once you have a character, then we do, while we're doing the physical stuff, we'll do bits where you have to, work your character into the match. So if you're doing a training match, let's say, they'll say, right, but you have to work your character versus their character. It can't just be bland wrestler versus bland wrestler. This is about integrating your character into your moveset and stuff. So yeah, it's really good way of getting you used to, getting you comfortable with working as a character.
Mm. And obviously, face Scotty Davis will say in Belfast, he raised your hand. Do you see that being over, or is there anyone on the roster that you would really like to wrestle in the next few months?
Yeah, sorry, I just can't get you. Jesus, I don't even think I've scratched the surface of even Ireland, of half the guys. I've never wrestled. Obviously, I'd love to. I mentioned LJ earlier. He's pretty hard to get these days because he's in Japan. Yeah. A big one is I'd love to wrestle Sammy D. I've never been in the ring with him in a tag match or anything in any capacity. And he's taught me a lot over my training years so far. So I'd love to mix it up with him in the ring. He's a former OTT champion. I wrestled Amari in a tag match before. I'd love to get him in a singles. He was part of that Scotty Davis bullying. Him and Scotty Davis used to do it. I got my revenge on Scotty, but I never got Amari. So yeah, I'd love to get him in a singles. I'm sure I'm missing a few people, but just everyone in Irish wrestling that I haven't wrestled yet.
Yeah. And you kind of alluded to it earlier. You want to get out to Europe and stuff like that. Like, what's the plans going forward? Where do you see yourself, hopefully, in the next year?
Well, I'm still pretty new. I've only been having matches a year, but I'd love to get out and train in some other schools. Training in Ireland is brilliant. It's definitely the best school in Europe is the School of Irish Wrestling. But I'm sure there's some things I could learn from
Yeah.
people from different countries around Europe, and I'd love to go out and have a look and see what I can learn.
And do you know what we should get done as well? We should make a few connections between ourselves. We should get a wrestling show in Kilkenny and have you do a hometown show. That'd be really cool. I don't know when the last time a show was in Kilkenny, but we need to get Shane O'Keefe on the case.
Buddy, I'm trying. I think. Listen, I pitched the idea to Joe multiple times, and he said he's all for it. We just got to try and find a venue. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's not a lot of wrestling venues in Kilkenny. So if you can keep an eye out,
unless we could implement it into one of the cultural festivals down here, which I may have a hand in, maybe recommending at the very least.
You could be a good man for that. Yeah, that'd be a good show. I think. Yeah, geez, I'd
between
love to
me,
do, you know.
Between me, yourself, and Shane O'Keefe there in KCLR, we should be able to get something wrapped up.
Well, as I don't, there's no other current wrestler from Kilkenny other than myself. So Jesus, I'd love it, man. You know, I'd love for it to be a consistent thing where we're having a show here every couple of months. You know, the way, like, even if it was with OTT, the way he does it with Belfast, like, you know, I'd love if it was like that. You know.
Yeah. Lack of venues, but I'm sure something could be sorted.
Fingers crossed.
Down the line.
I'm keeping my eyes out, so keeping a lookout.
Look, Luke, I'd like to thank you for today, man. It was a real pleasure. I'm going to have to do some chopping and changing on this because the old internet connection isn't great here.
Yeah. No butters. Sure. Thanks for having me.
My poor work as a county councillor has been exposed now today. So, man, thanks a million.
No butters. Sure, I'll see you around, all right?